Welcome to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM The Word. I'm Roberta Foster. And today I welcome Sarah Reju to Author's Corner, and she's written the book Coop Messes Up, which is published by New Growth Press, and we'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. She is a pastor's wife and mother living in Washington, D.C., and she has a Master of Divinity in Christian Ministry from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. She is the author of children's books and includes Jesus Saves, God is Better Than Trucks, and God is Better Than Princesses, as well as the book we're talking about today. So, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So your new series is actually called The Wheelies, about a family of cars. So that's sure to capture the attention of little readers. So why don't you introduce us to your cast of characters?
Sure, I'd love to. So the main character is named Coop, and he's the youngest member of a family of vehicles who live in Capital City. He's a very high-energy Mini Cooper who makes a lot of mistakes and learns a lot about God in the process. And then also in Coop's family are 4 siblings. So he has a sister who's named Nori, who's a really fun-loving Volkswagen Beetle. And then the police car, Lucy, is another of his sisters. And there's Joy, who's a Jeep, and a brother, James, who's very dependable, pickup truck. And then his parents are actually a fire truck and a garbage truck.
Oh, boy.
So we have the whole assortment of vehicles in the family.
Okay. Well, from the information, you have 5 children in your family. So are these children in the Wheelies family any way representative of the personalities of your children?
I will leave my readers the opportunity to figure that out. I'll say that my kids provided a lot of inspiration for the things that happen in the story. Yeah.
Very good. So Coop is what most would consider to be the typical youngest child of a family. And so what is it about him that seems to get him into trouble so often?
Yeah, Coop has a really hard time following the rules consistently. And his family has a rule about refueling their gas tank when it gets low.
Okay.
But Coop is like a lot of young kids, and he plays really hard and gets distracted along the way and then forgets until it's too late. This gets him in even more trouble when he lies to his mother about it. He feels bad, wants to do better, but he keeps messing up. So naturally he turns to his law-abiding police car sister to help him learn to follow the rules. So she jumps on board and offers to help him.
And sometimes people that love to follow the rules have a big difficulty with those that don't follow the rules. So how do you merge those two brothers and sisters together?
As far as in the book itself, I think you see that play out a lot in the way the two interact with each other. So the police car, Lucy, is convinced that if Coop just tried harder, he would be fine, and he would learn to follow all the rules just like she does. But, of course, it's a lot more complicated than that for him. So they end up getting into a tough situation where they run out of gas. This is a spoiler alert. They run out of gas together far outside of town, and their mother comes and rescues them. But they end up blaming each other for that. Coop blames Lucy because she should have known better, and she blames him because he always messes up. So you definitely see that playing out in the dynamics between the two of them.
Well, you know, a great story is a great story, but what spiritual themes are you weaving into your story, Coop Messes Up?
Yeah, I think the biggest theme in it is the unconditional love that God has for us, that he loves us because he loves us. He's not waiting for us to get our acts together and be good enough in order for him to start loving us, but he loves us because he loves us. So that's the big message that I'm hoping that kids who read this and their parents, too, would come away with.
Well, as we mentioned already, Lucy is a police car, and obviously, as a police car, follows the rules. She wants to help Coop to change, and so what's the lesson that she's trying to teach him?
So Lucy thinks that if Coop could just follow the rules better, like she does, that then he would be able to find his way in life. So she takes him through a whole long list of different rules and helps him practice following them.
Okay.
That's her strategy, just work harder. And
so how do you write that into your story that without the help of the Lord, that's not possible to even do, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what they learn in the story, because that's what they try to do. They try to just work harder, and they become very prideful and self-righteous in the process. They start to look down on others who are not following the rules as well as they are.
Okay.
And then they learn a pretty hard lesson when they end up running out of gas themselves and are completely helpless to take care of the situation.
Very good.
So that's how they learn that.
Okay. All right. Well, let me remind the listener that I'm talking today with Sarah Reju regarding the book Coop Messes Up. It's published by New Growth Press, and you're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So as a mother herself, I'm sure that you have other parents in mind when you're thinking about writing this book and how they can help their children should they have a child like Coop that seems to mess up a lot. So how do you try to lead children to have a healthier respect for those rules? And maybe that would be a way of helping parents with their unruly child.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the first step would be to try to really understand what's going on with your child, to figure out why they're struggling so much with following the rules. So a child could be deliberately disobeying, more of a high-handed sin where they're typically challenging authority. And if that's the situation, then they probably need some really clear boundaries, consequences that you're able to follow through on consistently. And then lots of encouragement and celebration when they make a good choice to obey. So that's one category of children. But there are also kids who keep messing up a lot because they get distracted. They have trouble remembering what's expected of them. They might be like Coop in the story is more like this. So he's so focused on whatever he's doing that he forgets what the rules were until it's too late. So if you have a child like that, they're probably maybe wanting to do better and get discouraged by how often they mess up. And so they would need a lot of encouragement and support. Maybe tasks would need to be broken down into smaller parts with more cues along the way to help remind them what's expected. And then, again, just lots of celebration as they start to learn.
I like that. Celebration of the things that have been learned, things that have been accomplished. That's a great tip right there. Well, I noticed that you have a special section at the end of the story, including a notes for parents age. So why don't you tell us about the content of that?
Sure. So that section is intended to help parents think through how to apply some of the themes of the book and how to just work them into everyday life. So in this one, I talk about how important it is that kids know that they're loved unconditionally by God. That theme again, that He loves them because He loves them. I talk about how when they were still sinners, Christ died for them. He loves them right now. It's based on His character and not their performance. And then also working in as parents, making sure that our children know they're loved unconditionally by us too. That we're not expecting them to perform a certain way or accomplish certain things before we start loving them. But in the same way that we've been loved by God, we can show that love to them. And then that's a really powerful picture to our kids. And then I also talk a little bit about how showing unconditional love to our kids doesn't mean that they get a get out of jail free pass, that they can do whatever they want to and don't have to follow the rules. But that actually showing unconditional love includes a desire to do them good, which could mean withholding something that they really want. It could be giving them something also, but wanting to see them flourish under the authority God's put in their lives, which is their parents, teachers, others, so that they do need to learn that it's good to obey God, and that's a good thing for them to do.
Amen. Amen. So you have a series of books included from the Wheelies family. So why don't you tell us about what comes next?
Sure. The next book is called Coop Helps Out, and that's due out, I think, in September. So that centers around Pops, who's the father, who's the garbage truck, who gets sick, and Coop feels responsible for that. In the process of working through that, Coop learns what it means to be a humble servant like Pops, and he gets to know more about Jesus, who, of course, is the best servant who ever lived.
Amen.
And then the next book after that is called Coop Learns He Can. And in that story, Coop goes out on an adventure with his sister Joy, who's the Jeep. And Coop's really discouraged at first because he's not able to do all the cool stuff that his sister can do. He just wasn't made for it. But then Joy ends up getting stuck, and Coop's able to rescue her, specifically because of the way he was made. So he starts to learn what it means to be fearfully and wonderfully made by God through that.
What a wonderful series of books. That sounds fabulous. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about who illustrated your book, because these are really cute pictures.
Yeah. I love the illustrations so much. So Tania Rex has done a fabulous job just bringing the story to life. I couldn't have been more happy with it, just the way she captures the different emotions and expressions, the little details she's included in the background. She's really done a fantastic job with it.
And it is a hardcover book, and so it will last a long time. And as each new book comes out, they'll be there from the first to the last, and so that's wonderful too. So today I've been talking to Sarah Reju about Coop Messes Up. Sarah, how can people find out more about this book and the others that you've written?
They can check out the New Growth Press website or go to Amazon or wherever they typically buy their books.
Okay. So one more time, the book today is called Coop Messes Up, and I've been talking with Sarah Reju, and we certainly thank New Growth Press for giving us a copy of the book to talk about. Sarah, it's been a pleasure talking with you about this, and we look forward to the next release.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again, you can certainly find it on your favorite podcast platform or just go through kneo.org. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join us again next time.